Coach Workshop. Now, I purposely say workshop because I don't want to stand up here and lecture at you all night. We have lots of coaches here with lots of experience, and I want you guys to learn from each other tonight, and I want to hear from lots of different voices. So a few housekeeping items before we get started. Does everyone have a copy of this book, The Power of Double Goal Coaching? Now, this copy is yours. So if you're anything like me and you love to mark all up in your book and take notes in it, then go right ahead. Another good place, there's a blank page in the front cover, which is great for taking notes as well. Second housekeeping item, if you look up on the board, I would love for you to text to sign in. So you'll text this information to this number. And if you don't have your smartphone, don't worry. Just come up and see me, and we'll get you signed in. And we're not going to spam you with lots of emails about how you have to join us and we want your money and things like that. But I hope you learn a lot today. And there's a lot of great information in this book. But we also have some great resources, like a website I put up on the board here. It's devzone.positivecoach.org. If you have a pen, I'd love for you to maybe write that down in your inside cover. What this website has is applicable tools and templates for you to use to send out emails to your parents, contracts that you can use with your parents. I just think it's a great resource and would love for you guys to check it out. So since there's only a couple of us here, I'd love for us to introduce each other. I'd like you to say your name, your age group you're coaching, your sport, and then the number of years. So I'll start. My name is Hadley. I coach mainly soccer. I coach only soccer now, but boys and girls. And I coach the little tiny ones, the U8s, all the way up to the U18s and all in between. And I've been coaching for about 6 years now. So who would like to go next?
I'll go. My name is Kelly, and I coach primarily lacrosse, but I've also coached youth soccer and field hockey and basketball.
Oh, wow. Great.
I'm Ruben Nieves. I coach primarily volleyball, boys 14 and under.
Great. Thank you for introducing yourself. So already we just have a lot of knowledge in this room, and the way that I learn the best in coaching is learning from my peers and hearing their stories and bouncing ideas. So really excited from learning from you all tonight. So I think we all know that sports can be a great platform to learn various character development and life lessons. But I think and that's probably the reason a lot of us got into coaching. But I think we also know that there can be negative experience kids can have. And that's the reason I'm really passionate about PCA, the PCA movement, was a negative experience I had as a kid. Now this is a little personal, but I want to share it with you guys, because how can I expect you guys to share if I don't share as well? So I grew up in North Carolina, and when I was about 11 years old, I was in 4th grade, I just gotten a girls soccer coach. Her name was Jane, and this is the first time I had a girls soccer coach, and she played for the UNC Chapel Hill. Anyone that knows anything about women's soccer knows that they have a dynasty. And so I just thought she was the coolest person in the world, and wow, I can't believe I'm going to be coached by someone that was really an idol to me, a role model. And so it's a hot summer day in North Carolina, and we're just a few months into her being our head coach. And we're all just finished doing some sprints, and we all come together as a team. And Jane looks over at me, and she goes, "Ugh, Katie, your legs are hairy. Oh, you should shave those." And I'm, 11-year-old, kind of a nervous kid. Okay, all right. Yeah. And, I bet probably none of my teammates remembered this. Jane probably doesn't remember this. But it impacted me, and I remember it to this day. And I went home, and I took my mom's razor and locked myself in the bathroom and dry shaved my legs. Anyone that knows this is a painful thing, lead to some, rash, bumpiness, and luckily I have a great mom, a great sister that saw I'd done this, and a few days later, said, let's wait it off for a few years, and then we're more than willing to show you. But really what I want you to take from that story is that that little tiny moment, that small moment, 1 or 2 lines that you say to your players, they can remember the rest of their life. And now that can be positive or negative. And that's why I'm so passionate about what PCA does. And what they do is they work with organizations to deliver the best possible sports experience to our kids, and teaching winning, but also teaching life lessons. So now I want to show you a clip of one of PCA's National Advisory Board members, Steve Young. All right, and moving to the third principle.
Okay.
All right. Now, does anyone recognize this picture here? Raise a hand. Anyone recognize this? Oh, Kelly, what do you know about this?
I don't know all the details, but I just remember seeing the story on the news and how I was so impressed by these girls that did something their coach didn't tell them to do.
Absolutely. This is Mallory Holtman, and we just believe that she just embodies taking sportsmanship to the next level. And let me show you a clip about this.
So then the clip plays.
Yeah. Now, am I frozen?
No, actually,
Okay.
a little.
I look frozen on mine. Sorry.
Yeah, you are frozen.
Okay.
But that's okay. We can still hear you.
Okay, great. So, what's your reaction to that? How does that make you feel? What Mallory did?
I think it's great.
Yeah, what's great about it, Ruben?
You know, just her ability to empathize with the opponent and feeling like she deserved to complete her home run. Even if it meant that her team might lose because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think, Mallory didn't do that because she knew she was going to be on the ESPYs, right? She did that because she was honoring the game. She was taking sportsmanship to that highest level. And so that's our principle 3. That's our third principle in becoming a double goal coach, is honoring the game. And we use the acronym ROOTS to show what 5 areas we respect. So next slide, please.
Yep.
Great. And so as I said, there's 5 different areas of who or what we want to respect. What do you guys think those are? We can use those pictures to kind of help guide us. Call them out. What do you think one of them is?
I think the first one is rules.
Rules. Absolutely. Great. What's another one?
Opponents.
Opponents. That's another. Great. Any others? We could go T, S, whatever you guys are guessing.
I see the shirt, so I think it's officials.
Officials. Absolutely. Good job, Kelly.
Team.
Good. Team or teammates. Very good. And the last one. That one's a little difficult. That one's self. Okay, so going back to the first thing, in order to honor the game, the rules. All right, what are rules for? What do you guys think rules are for? Why do we have them?
Structure and determine a winner and a loser.
Good, great. To create that fairness, to tell us what the game is about, what our goal is. What else?
I think to keep things safe.
Good, absolutely. Those are the 2 that I think, safety and fairness, absolutely. So in order to honor the game, we want to honor and follow the letter of the rules, but also the spirit of the rules, right? In most sports, there's a controversial area, a gray area, where teams know they can get away with things. In terms of soccer, you can only go in with your shoulder to shoulder, and you can't come in with your elbow like this, and that could hurt someone. But sometimes you can get away with it being a little out there, right? But we don't want to teach that. What's a controversial example in your sport, Kelly or Ruben?
I think dangerous checking in lacrosse.
Oh, great example. What about you, Ruben? Anything? Can you think of anything in volleyball?
Yeah. Comes to mind is stalling. falling by either wiping an imaginary consequence or tying your shoe when it doesn't really need to be tied.
Absolutely, and that happens in soccer a lot as well. And so we want to honor the game by valuing that victory and not bending those rules. So our second, our O here is for opponents. And Phil Jackson puts this great. He is a big supporter of PCA. He actually wrote the foreword in this book. So if you'll go to page 3, when I heard this and I read this part, I just thought this was the best way to say it, and I'm just going to use his words because he said it brilliantly, in that a worthy opponent is actually a gift. Okay, so I learned from the Lakota of the Dakotas, they had a mortal enemy in the Crow, but they honored them because they were wonderful warriors, and to fight against the Crow demanded bravery, cunning, and teamwork. I borrowed that theme. The conflict brought about the best of both tribes. So rather than getting angry and frustrated in a contest with a physically stronger team like the Pistons and flailing out in futility, we resorted to meeting them with focused willpower, resilience, and teamwork. We honored the Pistons' ability to compete, and it worked in our favor with 6 NBA championships for the Bulls. I just thought that was a great way to look at opponents. Raise the hands. Who's ever had or coached a team or heard another team where a player says, "Oh, I hate that team. I hate that girl on that other team"? Have you ever had that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
What are we teaching our kids if we allow them to say those sort of things, and we want them to hate that other team because they wear a different uniform or go to a different school, right? So the third letter, O, is for officials, as you guys mentioned. Raise a hand. Who's ever officiated in their lives before? Who of you guys, who officiates on a consistent basis now? Good. So why? Why is that? What was your experience? Why don't you officiate anymore, Ruben or Kelly?
It wasn't fun.
What wasn't fun about it?
I just felt like stressed out. The parents were yelling and the coaches were yelling, and nobody ever agreed with my calls.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have a similar experience, Ruben?
Yeah, it just seemed like you always had somebody manage upset with you, no matter how hard you tried or how well you officiated.
Yeah, and that we all know that's no fun. I was at a awards ceremony, the Oregon Youth Soccer Awards, and they honored a young female and a young male referee, and I thought this was just a great award to give. And so the young female comes up and they give her bio. She's just head of like the honor society and she's just a great individual and wants to be a part of the game because she knows she's not going to play in college professionally, but she loves the sport. And she referees, and she won this award, and she comes up and gives a short speech, and she's very well spoken. I can't believe she's 16 years old. And towards the end, she's looking out, and she's like, I know a lot of you guys are coaches, and just think about it next time to try to not yell at us as much. And in that moment, both of them said the same thing. I was just mortified that this is the experience of these young referees. Referees are going to make mistakes, just as we all make mistakes. And it's how we respond to that is how our parents and how our players are going to respond to that. So the T is for teammates. Raise a hand. Have you ever had a kid on your team that just wasn't up to the level of the rest of the kids, right? Maybe the kids up here had just a higher development, and there was just that one kid, little Katie, who just wasn't quite there. And so your teammates have a big impact here. They can have two responses. Katie gets the ball passed to her, and she hits it out of bounds, right? The first response is, Katie, she always screws things up, right? And the second response is, it's all right, Katie, got it next time, okay? Hey, let me show you. Maybe next time you could turn your body this way. It helps me, right? Guess what? The kid that got that first response probably doesn't play sports anymore, right? And those of us that know something about the science of youth soccer know that maybe Katie was going through her growth spurt at a different time, and maybe that's the reason she was having that difficulty. So now, she had that. She's probably going to become a great athlete, but more importantly, if she quit, now she doesn't have this great vehicle to learn life lessons and to have that teamwork and camaraderie. Last one is self. And I think this is probably the most important, in that means that we live up to our own standards even when others don't. We've all had that kid that yells at us or says something to us like, wait, why do we have to do that? The other team's not doing that, right? And your response to that should be that this is how we do things here. This is our standard, and we want to keep it to that standard. And so if we believe in honoring the game, then we show respect for roots, the rules, opponents, officials, teammates, and self, no matter what. Next slide, please. Good. So culture is going to happen. Your team's going to have a culture no matter what. Right? If you heard your player saying to little Katie, ugh, she's so bad, and you don't say anything, guess what? Now it's okay for your players to say that. That's the culture that you have created. Okay, so what the easiest definition we have for culture is the way we do things here. All right, and real quick, I want you to turn around and thank the organization that brought you here today, because they realize the importance of this, and they realize that this is the first step in showing you, right, that how important culture is. Good, absolutely. And the reason it's so important is that we live in our professional sports arena has a win-at-all-costs mentality, right? It's a business, it's entertainment. But that is sort of infiltrated down to our youth sports. I was doing a 7v7 co-ed tournament a couple weekends ago, and it was actually raising money for a local elementary school. And so the referee got something wrong. Okay, he's human, right? And it's a 7v7 tournament. And all of a sudden, I hear these group of 5, 10, 11, 12-year-old boys behind the goal, and they're going, referee! Boo! Referee! Terrible call! And I'm just shocked and mortified that they just said this. And I realized instantly why they said this. I live in Portland, Oregon, and we have the Portland Timbers. And I'm so excited about the support and the passion that our fan groups have called the Timbers Army. And they're loud and they're crazy. But somehow our parents and our coaches and our culture has not broken off and showed that that's a different culture, and it started to infiltrate down to youth sports and that being okay there. But this was a great teachable moment, and luckily our goalkeeper, as the play went down the field, our goalkeeper went to talk to the kids, and he asked them, "Are you showing respect to the officials?" And they were like, "Well, no." I was like, "Don't the officials show respect to you?" Well, yeah. Well, don't you want them to continue to respect you and not, you know, say, hey, that was a terrible kick, number 9, haha, right? So he took that for a great teachable moment, and that's what creating culture is all about. When those moments arise, what is our reaction as coaches? Next page. Slide. So what I love about this book, The Power of Double Goal Coaching, is it's not just about a bunch of theory about the principles. After each of the principles is a subsequent chapter that's full of tools and things that you can implement starting this week. And now it takes practice, right? It's not going to happen overnight. So if you'll go to page 46, just as our players need to be prepared, we also need to be prepared with a self-control routine. Who has an example of a self-control routine they'd love to share with us when maybe a referee makes a really bad call in a game, and what do you do to keep your cool?
I try to remember to flush it.
Oh, yeah, that is an absolute great one. What is that? Could you explain to everyone that hasn't heard that? What does flush it mean?
Well, you just taught us that in the principle before this, and I think you did a great job. It's just a way to get your mind off of it and just move on.
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me there. So a couple other ones are taking a deep breath, maybe talking to an assistant. One I love to do that actually isn't on page 46 here. It's a great example. Who's ever seen that Pixar film Inside Out? Have you ever seen that? Yeah, it's a great film, and so to tell you guys who haven't seen it, it follows a girl from about age to 8 to 12, and kind of the inner workings of her brain. And so there's 5 different characters there. So here they are in my brain. We have we have we have anger, we have joy, we have sadness, we have disgust, and we have fear. All right, and they're all up there, and they're all thinking different things in our brain. And so my self-control routine is I let Mr. Anger in here say stuff in my brain. And Mr. Anger will say, "Oh, referee, that's a terrible decision." Okay, and that happens for 5 seconds or so, all up in here. But I let it go away, and that gives me time to think of a better reaction. A reaction maybe like I turn to my players, "Hey guys, the referee is a human, right? They're going to make mistakes. What's our response now to it? Okay, how do we overcome this situation?" Okay, and so that's my little self-control routine. I let anger go crazy in here, and that allows me time to think of a better way to respond. Next slide, please.
Yep, that's time, just to let you know. But if you want to finish up, go ahead. Oops.
And so just to finish up this principle, I'd love to read a quote from the PCA founder and executive director, Jim Thompson. "If you coach long enough, you will find yourself faced with your own big Mallory moment opportunity, maybe even more than once. But for sure, coaching provides a never-ending sequence of smaller Mallory moment opportunities. My challenge to you is, by your actions time and again in those moments, to elevate the game the way Mallory Holtman did."
All right. Thank you. Okay. No echo. I think we're good. All right, Katie. Well done. I love watching you. Every time you just get smoother and smoother, and this just becomes, I think the first time when I look back, it was you said the word about 50,000 times, and I think it was just because you didn't know the content, and I really just feel like you were just very smooth. You also brought a little bit more of your own personality in this time, and a little more of your energy, and that was great to see. It was, right off the bat, I think you just balanced your energy and your poise and your you have a very relaxed, calm demeanor to you, which is great. You have a great tone to your voice, but you also threw in some, what are you doing? What are you thinking? I mean, that's just good to keep the audience on their toes. So it was good to see that as well. I liked your intro a lot. I think your intro was really strong. I think it's good that you tell it. This is housekeeping stuff. This is just real quick. Let's just go through this. And with the text to sign in, I just also want you to make sure that you mention that they're going to get emailed a certification card, a certification of completion card too, that says that they get credit for taking this course. But I do love the way that you brought up writing the Development Zone website in your book. I think that's a great idea, because these books were printed before the Dev Zone website existed, so they will get linked to it when they go on the regular website, but I think it was cool that you were able to point that out. Again, I just love your Jaimes story. What I would probably stress a little bit more, you kind of said it in passing, but I think it's maybe like a power of a pause, talking about the power that this coach had over you as a kid. And the fact that years and years later, she drained your tank right there, and she made you feel that you weren't good enough just by what she said. And because she was such a highly respected coach in your mind, that hit a little harder. So that's an emotional moment for you, and I think that's really important for coaches to say, because it's also, going back to emotional tank, that's also sarcasm that she said, like, "Oh, those legs are pretty hairy." She was probably not trying to hurt you. She was just being sarcastic. And so I think that's a good place to link that story back when you do E-Tank for the power of sarcasm. Real quick, the forward in the book, I think you said it was written by Jim Thompson, and it's actually written by Phil Jackson. So I just want to make sure, I think you know that, but I just wanted to make sure that you had that correct. One of the things when you went through, I don't know if you were the one that did it last time. I remember thinking, I thought you were talking about a parent game. Somebody was talking about a game where I thought that the parents got a chance to play the sport and the kids were screaming at them from the sidelines. I don't know if maybe I took your 7v7 story and switched it up, but I think that's such a great story about, the kids were just modeling what they see. And you also brought up the point that, sports are, the culture that the win at all cost culture is from the entertainment industry, and it's from the business industry. So I thought you did a really nice job at bringing that up as well. I love that you thanked the organization that brought you here. That's such a huge culture thing. And also the organization that paid money to have you here goes, oh, well, good, at least we're getting credit for this. This is great. So I thought that was really good too. The one thing with officials that I love, someone else said this in another hangout, why is it hard to be an official? Why are you not an official anymore? And somebody said, it's probably one of the only jobs where no matter what comes out of your mouth, half the people will not be happy with you. Half the people will think you're wrong. And I just thought that was a good little quote to say, like, gosh, that's right. Never will you make a call and everyone goes, yeah, you're right. Half the people are going to be unhappy with that. So I just feel great about you, Katie. I think you're really doing a good job improving on what we give you suggestions for, and you're just getting better and better. So it's exciting. Ruben?
I just echo everything Kelly said. I thought it was strong last time. I thought it was even stronger today. I thought you were more animated today and more expressive. You ventured out and showed that side of your personality and that side of your trainer personality. So I was very pleased with it, Katie. Congratulations.
Thank you. I actually recorded myself and watched myself, which was the biggest. I mean, it's hard to do and like hear your own voice and that sort of thing, but that helps so much.
Good. Good. Nice. Don't hear you, Kelly. We see lips moving, but no sound coming out.
Okay, there you go. Can you hear me now?
There it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Just takes my computer. Sorry about that. So I didn't get to hear your comments, Ruben. Sorry.
Mine were very short and sweet. I was just agreeing with what you said, and I thought that Katie did super well. So very happy for her.
All right, great. Katie, will you be able to hang on for Terry's, or do you have to go?
Yeah, I could say.
No, we lost you again. We lost the audio again on you, Kelly.
Love technology.
Kelly will figure it out.
I've used this Google Hangout and I've used GoToMeetings and honestly, I don't think there's one single one that is full.
All right, I'm just pulling you up on here again. Sorry. All right, did you need me to pull up the PowerPoint?
No, I've got it right here.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
And I'm going to do this. Okay. So whenever you're ready.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to come over here and hang out with you guys for the hour, and obviously we're going to discuss some amazing things and some very good things and some very influential things that PCA is doing and that you guys can use immediately. Right now, I kind of know a little bit about some of y'all in the audience, and I know that there's people from all types of sports here. Everybody kind of knows me as a baseball guy, but I know there's some football people out there and some swimming and diving guys, some track and field, some tennis. So this is not just a football or baseball or basketball type of information. This is good for all sports, and it's good for marriages. It is good for classrooms. You are going to find some very, very good things today. Just a little background on myself, so you know who's out here, who you're talking with and back and forth to. My name's Terry Jaimes, out of Katy, Texas, and I've been fortunate to play pretty much a whole lot of sports growing up: football, basketball, soccer, track and field, baseball. Towards high school, baseball kind of started winning out throughout the other ones. I was a whole lot better at that, and I kind of started focusing on that. I was extremely lucky enough to be good enough to play a little bit in college. And after that, I definitely always wanted, and I knew I wanted to go into teaching and coaching. It was a passion. It's what my family has done for 2 generations. It's what I know, and it's what I'm passionate about. What brought me to PCA, obviously, Katie's a very big sports school, and we've known about PCA for the last few years. They've come and they've done some things over at the Merrill Center for different coaches, and so I've found out about them. I've been talked with Ben Rose and AJ Johnson. I've talked with Jim Thompson, and David Weekley, who's a very big supporter out here in Houston, and they kind of all got me connected to the cause. Now, I have been fortunate enough to coach everything from junior high football, basketball, track, all the way up through football and baseball up on the high school level. 3 state championships with Katie football. I've been so fortunate enough to work with some of the best in the business. And this is my next part that I want to bring it out to. I am not an expert, but I've worked with experts, and I know, looking at some of you out there, there is a lot of expertise in this room. And just because someone has worked only 1 year or 5 years, in fact, any hands? Who's worked just for 5 and under? Anybody? I'll see a couple. How about 5 to 10 years coaching? Anybody 10 to 20 years? 10 to 20 years. Anybody 20 and above? 20 and above. Well, I see a few hands back out there, but they're all still on the camera over here. But we'll assume there's a lot of 20 and above out there. There is a lot of wealth of this information because this is a working workshop. We're going to be we're going to be asking each other questions. I'm going to be including you on some of the dialogue, and I definitely want a lot of participation because a lot of these things that work for me won't necessarily work for you. I'd love to hear what works for you, and I'm sure everybody here would love to hear what works for you. One of the biggest things I've learned as an assistant coach is to always keep your ears open because there's always something you can learn. What worked yesterday won't necessarily work today, and it's always important just to keep learning, and that's why we're here. So I'm going to start off reading an article. It's just a small little, it's a 1-sentence small little paragraph, 2 sentences possibly at the most, and this is something that I came across in October of 2015, and it kind of went away. It was a big story, but it just went away, and I never knew exactly what happened up until 4 days ago when it came back. Now, some of you might have heard about this, but I'm going to tell you this story, then I'm going to tell you another. So, real quick, if you allow me, this took place in Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania. I want to hear your thoughts. The father of a youth football player and a waitress who worked with him were behind shotgun shells with referees' names written on them that were left on a Pennsylvania field last fall, prompting the league to cancel its season. State police charged Friday. So, here we have a father who was upset at a small 6-year-old through 14-year-old football league, and he and an accomplice decided to write down names on shotgun shells and leave them in the parking lot to be found by the league officials. Here's the sad part. The league that very same day canceled the season. Those kids had played 1 or 2 games only. So, thoughts on that? I'd like to hear some of y'all. How about, let's see, those of you who raised your hand, 10 to 20 years of coaching. Kelly, you raised your hand. How do you feel about that?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Gotta love Pennsylvania. It's disturbing that parents would even consider doing that. And I think the league, I give them a lot of credit for canceling the season. It's a shame for the players, but they sent a clear message.
Sent a very clear message, and and these are some of the things, and obviously this is going to be an isolated incident. This is not the norm across America in any type of youth sports, but we are seeing more and more things like this in youth sports. And again, this was kind of a parent who just kind of went off the deep end. This had nothing to do with a coach or a player or anything like that. But, it did happen. We're going to come back to that story here in just a bit. But this first slide, I want to get to principle number 3 is, this is going to be called the Mallory moment. The principal is actually honoring the game. Now, this picture you see a couple players over here carrying an injured girl here in red. And I've got a small little video to show you. I'm going to go ahead and put that video on for you. to watch, and then we're going to kind of discuss. All right. All right. So, I'll tell you what. I know when I watched that video, a lot of emotions kind of came out in me, because like Sarah, in high school, I was the line drive hitter. I was the I can run out and make a single into a double type of thing, but I was not a power hitter. And I know firsthand what it is to hit one home run in high school and how important that was to me. I want to hear what you thought about this video. Just turn to your neighbor, give me about 30 seconds, discuss what you thought when you heard this story of Mallory, Liz, and Sarah. Ruben, what did your group come up with when you heard this?
We thought it was very inspirational. We thought that it was a selfless thing to do. We thought it was a very mature and courageous thing to do. And so we found it inspirational and quite touching, honestly.
Did you think that built some camaraderie between the two teams? As I believe, I think
yeah, I would think so. I would think that it would be hard for those two teams to be disrespectful to each other after, that kind of show of sportsmanship.
And I'm assuming that this is probably not the first time these two teams have met in the league championship, and I think that's so important. I think you kind of nailed it on the head. It's going to be very hard for them to consider themselves almost as rivals at this point. And now you do have a very huge sense, I think, of honoring that game because of that one small moment that, what did they say? Less than maybe 100 people got to see. But what a powerful moment that was. Moving over, I appreciate that, Ruben. We go to this next slide back over. I'm going to skip 2 slides back over here because it kind of shows the same one. We have this acronym ROOTS, and this is, again, the third principle, honoring the game. And we have the acronym ROOTS, and obviously, the ROOTS is going to stand for something. And, looking at that first one under rules, why is it that we have rules in sports? I mean, and again, it's not a trick question. I think everyone kind of knows, but Kelly, could you possibly kind of weigh in? What would you think maybe 1 or 2 of the biggest reasons would be?
I think safety and fairness would be the 2 I can think of.
Oh, absolutely. And, I'll tell you what, being an educator, the number 1 rule is safety. It's when those kids come to us, and this is whether you're in a classroom or whether you're on the field, those kids come to us, those are our kids, and we are expected to be as safe as humanly possible with those and treat them like we would our own children. So that's a very, very good thing. I know in baseball, there are a few rules that have been, they're sketchy at best. You could get away with something, and I definitely know a lot of coaches who kind of teach different ways, and it's any way to get on base, a type of mentality. Are there any sports that you guys have ever coached out there, whether that be swimming or diving, tennis, rugby, anything like that, that possibly I don't know about, that, the rules are a bit sketchy, you might be able to get away with it?
In volleyball, you can get away with stalling. You're not supposed to stall, but you can stall by tying your shoe when you don't really need to tie your shoe, or wiping up an imaginary wet spot in between rallies.
Oh, I see. I can see that. And is that frowned upon by league officials? By officials?
Yeah, but it's hard to. Officials have a hard time managing it.
Hard to gauge.
They look down and someone's tying their shoe. Like you said, the officials, one of their top priorities is safety of the participants. So they give you the benefit of the doubt. So it's easy to take advantage of that.
Excellent. We all know that now. Excellent. My very first teaching and coaching job, I coached a gentleman by the name of, I want to say he's probably about 22, 23, 24 years old, somewhere in there now, Cicero McLean. He's the biggest 7th grader, biggest muscles, fastest kid, star running back. We had a track meet, and Cicero left early, 100-meter. He was supposed to win the 100-meter that year. Cicero left early. He beat the field, I would say, by at least a good 5 or 6 steps. Cicero went right up to the first place person taking names, called himself out on it. As a first-year coach, I got in Cicero. I said, Cicero, what are you doing? He says, Coach, don't worry about it. I'm going to face those same guys in the district championship here in 4 weeks. I'll beat them fair and square. I said, I felt a little guilty. And I think almost everyone would probably feel a little guilty. Cicero was a good person. I think he got it. Even at a young age in 7th grade, he got it. That next acronym, or next letter on the acronym, opponents. Again, I'm a baseball coach, and it's very easy to teach opponents in a baseball setting because, again, we practice most of the week, and we do intra-squad scrimmages. A lot of the times come district, and we throw some of our pitchers who hadn't thrown a whole lot that week, let them get a bullpen in and throw to their opponents, or to their own teammates. We do have a rule, and right there is when we sit there and we nail it down. The expectations are clear on our team that nobody is going to badmouth an opponent. Nobody's going to talk to the opponents. They're just going to sit there and they're going to cheer for their own team. And this is where we start. Not even in scrimmages, not even in practices will we let our team razz the other side because we feel it does send a bad message. We're not leading by example, and that's, as coaches, that's kind of what we would like to do. That's what we'd like to do. The other O is going to be officials, and we kind of hit on that early, and I'm going to come back to this story. I don't know how many officials there are. Are there any in the audience? Ruben, had you ever been an official? Kelly?
I used to ref.
I used to.
Even coaching in high school, when you sometimes have to put on that coaching hat / official hat, umpire and get in those intra-squads that I was talking about a little while ago. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world because you're not going to get every call right. Some of these are bang plays. That strike zone can seem just the size of a quarter sometimes when people are on you. When other coaches are saying, so where was that, umpire? It's tough. I do happen to know, looking in the audience and talking with some of you earlier, that a lot of your officials, whether it's in Little League or going up to a higher league, a junior or possibly junior high or high school, a lot of these guys are not getting paid a lot of money to do this. In fact, if they're getting paid, a lot of times they're donating their time. And it's real important for us as coaches to understand that, to help our team to understand that these are humans. They have a life outside of baseball, outside of basketball, outside of reffing a volleyball game. They do have a life. They have a family. They want to go out there and they want to go do the best they possibly can. There is not one official that I've ever met that went out and said, you know what, I'm going to take it to this team right there because I just don't like them. That's not what they do. 99.999% of all officials who go out there are going to go out doing the best possible job they can for both teams, and they're going to be fair. And we as coaches, we have to understand that. We have to let our team understand that. We have to let our parents, stands, fans, administration, anybody out there watching that game, we need to understand that. Is there anything that you have done that's worked in the past, possibly getting on an official's good side immediately throughout the game? Or I'm sorry, at the start of the game?
I just ask how they're doing that day, how many games they have to ref, realize that a lot of them are out there for, 5 hours in the hot sun.
Isn't that amazing what a little conversation can do? One of the things that our head coach has always told us, we never call an official by their first name. It's always Mr. Johnson. It's Mr. Smith. And we've had some 18 and 19-year-old officials. I'm a 37-year-old guy. We will call them Mr. Smith. It's a form of respect, and you know what? A lot of times they love it. They know that we're respectful. They know that when they come to Katy, they're going to be treated fair. Okay, nobody's going to go chirp in their ear, and nobody's going to give them a hard time for doing what they're out there either volunteering or getting paid a very small amount to do. Teammates is the next letter in Roots, and basically teammates are very simple. We just expect our team to go out there and represent our community, our school. And it's very easy at our school because a whole lot of people want to be a part of what we do. It can be a little bit more daunting in other places, and definitely I understand, but definitely, we try to set that expectation immediately and follow up. and follow up and follow up, because once you say something, you've got to follow up. I mean, that's just that's education 101. Otherwise, nobody will learn and nobody will think it's important. It's very important for you to follow up on some of these. Self, guys, very simple. I think most of y'all are here because you do have integrity. You do have self-respect, and that's what this is all about. Doing the things right when nobody is watching. And again, some of the coaches that have been doing this for a very long time in this audience, I think you can probably tell us stories about integrity, because a lot of you have led your entire career with integrity and with a whole lot of self-respect. And again, I think it's a very important thing to do with some of these younger coaches coming down. I'm going to go ahead and forward to this slide over here on a culture creation. PCA defines culture, guys, is just the way we do things here. It's the way we do things here. We never sink to any level that is below a certain line. We always have a saying, we live above the line. Okay? That's where we want to be. We even have a line in our dugout. We live above that line. And just like you, I know you've faced some opponents that have chirped. And again, I kind of alluded to it earlier. We tell our players, you cheer your team. Nobody talks to the officials in a negative manner other than to say something nice. Nobody says anything in a negative manner or even talks to the other team. We take care of our business. It's a very good rule to live by, and it's very, very simple to enforce. It just has to be, again, it has to be enforced by you, the coaches, by your assistant coaches, by the parents, by the administration. It just has to be a rule that is set, and prior to the season, in the parent meetings, and beyond through the season. On page 46, there is a toolkit, and this is one of the last things. There's a toolkit for a self-control routine. Is there anything that I know in baseball, you know, there's a lot of coaches that chew sunflower seeds as almost as a nervous tick. Don't like sunflower seeds, besides it kills the grass. All that saltiness on the grass, it browns it up, not good. I eat gummy bears. But I guarantee you there is a small little bucket out in the back that does have some little softy balls. And whenever it's inevitable, when an umpire does do something that is, call doesn't go your way, it's important, and it's a life lesson for those kids to see you react a certain way. Because in life, tell me, are you going to have setbacks?
Yes.
Absolutely. Everybody does. It's life. You know, unless we're a multi-billionaire, then I maybe don't think they have too much work to worry about. The rest of us do. We're going to have setbacks in life. And again, we're here to teach those kids lessons. In the end, sports teaches lessons. And this is one of the greatest lessons we can teach kids. How is coach going to react to that? Okay, coach reacted this way or coach reacted this way. They'll remember things like that. They're not going to remember scores, but they're going to remember the lessons you taught them. I'm going to finish off with one little thing, and this is I kind of downloaded this in the PCA, preparing for your Mallory moment here, and this is just an excerpt here, elevating your game, becoming a triple impact competitor by Jim Thompson, the PCA founder, and I'm just going to read this small little thing to end, guys. Athletes who compete long enough will find themselves faced with a Mallory moment, where doing the right thing at the right time elevates your game in an unexpected way. Your Mallory moment won't look exactly like Mallory Holtman's moment. It'll have its own dimensions, particulars, and its own look and feel. It may not even be noticed or remembered by onlookers, but count on it, sooner or later you will be faced with a situation in which you can elevate the game the way Mallory did. Will you be ready for your moment? Coaches, I thank you for being here today. I want to congratulate you for doing what you're doing. It is important. Every moment, every second when you're out there to practice a game, on the road, traveling at home, do the right things. Do the right things for your kids. Do the right things for sports. I appreciate your time. If you need anything from me, you can contact me through PCA. There's my email back over here up front. I'd be happy to give you anything you need. I appreciate you listening. Thanks a lot. Have a nice, safe trip home in this wet weather we're experiencing in Houston.
It must be really wet in Houston, because I've heard 3 people today in the state of Texas talk about how miserable the weather is there today.
Woo, it's bad right now. I can hear it up on the roof out there.
All right, thank you, Terry. That
Definitely
was
no baseball practice.
What's that?
Definitely no baseball practice today.
Oh yeah, yeah, really. I really, Terry, I really enjoyed that. I really like to see you, coming along too. And I think the content. I think you've got the presentation skills. You always have had the facilitation skills. I think it's nice that the content is becoming so naturally flowing from you, and you're able to pull things in and connect them. And I think that's a really great thing that you're able to do that. And you went exactly 20 minutes. Like, I don't know if you had a clock there, but you were like right on time, which is great.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You started at 3:32 my time, and you ended at 3:52. So that was exactly 20 minutes.
Felt 35.
No, you were right. You were right on pace. And I think you did a nice job at really appreciating the audience, appreciating in the beginning. You thanked us. You talked about the expertise in the room, how you'd like to use that. At the end, you thanked us. You even hope want us to get home safely. So I think you just did a really nice job with connecting to the audience and appreciating their time and appreciating them being there. So that was really good. The one thing, you really keep it conversational, which is great. And I think you're very good at asking questions in a situation like this. You were able to say, Ruben or Kelly or whoever, share with me. In a big room of 30, 40 coaches, I'd like to see you do more like pairing up and sharing and discussing and really letting the coaches get deeper understanding of it, rather than just calling on one or two people. I think that's where it changes from a conversational question to a really thought-provoking way for the coaches to make it their own. So that's one thing I'd like to see a little bit more of in a big group, and I'm sure that you'd be able to facilitate that in a really clever way. So that would be something, because I think going through it, when you went through each of the ROOTS, there is a lot to say. But a lot of the things that you say, look for opportunities to pull the answer out of the audience instead of you telling us. So if there's a way that you can ask a question and then back it up after you get the answers from the audience, then you can add in your 2 cents to kind of reinforce what they're saying. But I would like to see, a lot of the stuff that you said is great information. It's just stuff that you could pull out of the audience.
Gotcha.
So I'd like to see do a little bit more of that. And I think a lot of it, you brought in some great points about the parent meeting, and you drilled that home 2 or 3 times, and that's not necessarily in the PowerPoint. But that's something obviously that's important to you, and I'm glad that you put that in there, because I think that is, especially when you're talking about culture, parents are a major drive of a negative culture, and so I think that was great that you put that right in there, right up front. And I also like your Cicero story. I mean, I think that was great. I love to throw in a personal story. I thought that was a great story
Big
to tell.
Cicero McLean.
Yeah,
I saw him about 6 months ago.
There's a similar story like that out of Hawaii about a guy named Ren. I can't think of his last name, Nakado or something like that, and he was a golfer.
Tanaka.
Similar story. What was it?
Tanaka?
Tanaka, yes. I can never remember his last name. I gotta write that down. But similar story where he was a golfer, and he, it was like the state championship golf tournament. He got to the very end, and he realized he wasn't using his ball anymore. He picked up the wrong ball. So he had to make a decision. He had to make the decision, do I go up to the officials and forfeit and say, hey, listen, somewhere along the line I picked up the wrong ball and I was playing with it, or not to tell his team. He ended up doing the right thing and saying, what, I have to forfeit, which forfeited his team, which was a shame. But people, our cohorts in Hawaii that have known him said he also got phone calls from some pretty amazing colleges and companies saying, we heard about your story and we want to offer you a job when you get out of college. So I thought that's, same thing. I bet Cicero would have the same offers for a guy like that has that much integrity to do that. So thank you. So a little bit more audience engagement. I'd like to see you pull us in a little bit more, but I think you have a really good, firm grasp of the content, and I think your tone is enough to keep me engaged, which is great.
Thank you.
Ruben?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I would have the same, my suggestions would echo Kelly's. Highlights that I noticed, I like in the opening how you talked about, you didn't actually use the term wisdom of the group, but that's a PCA term. When you talked about our years of experience and pulling in our expertise or whatever, we call that tapping into the wisdom of the group. And I like the Cicero story a lot, and I like the rifle shell story too. It's an attention getter, and it's like, wow, it's. I really liked, I think Kelly talked about this, how direct you were, how clear you were with what you tell players and parents about honoring the game in your culture. We flat out tell them this is what we're about. I liked how direct and clear you were with that. I also like you giving how the coach reacts to a bad call as an example of a life lesson. I thought that was very effective. And, I think my favorite thing, there are a lot of highlights, was that when you read the Jim Thompson quote, you actually had downloaded a PDF from DevZone. And so you killed, I don't know if that's a politically correct term, you killed two birds with one stone. So you were able to read us the quote, but you were actually showing how you go to the DevZone and you take advantage of these resources and tools. I thought that was very effective. Kelly, I think that's a good thing for all our trainers to consider.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I'm going to do it next time. So
yeah, I do that with positive charting. I actually hold up a resource because I love positive charting. So I go on the website, I print it out, and I show the coaches. This is something I printed right off the website when I get into that for mastery. So it is. I think it is a great idea. Yeah.
I like it a lot. I want one little thing to think about. You use the term rivals almost like it was a negative at one point. It was in conversation. It might have been in response to a comment that I'd made, and at PCA, we think rivals are a wonderful thing, and rivalries are wonderful. We think competition, it's one of the great parts of competition is competing against a rival. What we don't think is appropriate is enemy, or hatred, or demonizing. But we would stop short of making the word rival or the concept of a rivalry as a negative. I mean, it can turn negative, it can turn ugly, it can get out of hand, but in and of itself, it's not a bad thing. Does that make sense, Terry?
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, good. Terry, I thought it was very successful. Well done. Congratulations.
Katie, I'd love to give you a chance to give Terry some feedback too.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of those. Like the examples and the connections were great, I thought, and the Cicero example was really good. I actually got goosebumps when you read the one about the Pennsylvania thing. Like, that was just so shocking. I didn't know where you were going with it. I was just like, wow, that actually happened. I had never heard of that. So I think that's great to use. And I really liked when you said, as an assistant coach, always keep your ears open. I thought that was a cool thing to just, and especially at the beginning of something like this, it's like a good way to be like, hey, coaches, listen up and learn something, even if they don't want to be there, but without, saying that sort of thing.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. And just real quick, Katie, while I have you on here, I just watched Inside Out for the first time over the weekend, and I was seriously thinking, like, there's got to be a clip from this movie that I can use in my workshops. I mean, just one little clip. I'm trying to find it. So if you find a good clip that you think we could use in the workshops, it's just, especially, I mean, emotional tank filling is what I'm thinking right off the bat. But I'm trying to find like the perfect clip to be able to use in the workshops, because it's such a great movie to illustrate the emotional battle that you go through with anger and sadness and all these emotions going on in your head. And we as coaches have to have that type of self-control to know which emotion to use when. So I thought that was funny that you brought that up. I liked your little picture, guys, too. That was good. Well, both of you, I think, this is great for both of you. You both did a great job, and we're excited. Our next goal is to get you guys out there in front of live people. So what we would do is we're going to set you up with your local chapter. Sonia DeWitt is our trainer manager, and she will be I'm going to send out an email tomorrow, kind of just that gives you the next steps on what we would like to see you guys do. But the next step, just between you and I, is to get you out there co-presenting at a live workshop. So you would do, one of the principles. I think it's interesting. We've had more people in this final mock demo do honoring the game than I think ever. Don't you agree, Ruben? I think more people have done honoring the game this time. But it's a good principle to start with, because there's a lot to it. So we would ask you to facilitate just one principle or possibly more at a live workshop with a mentor trainer, and then they get to give you feedback in front of a live audience. We get to hear from you. What did you think? Do you think you feel comfortable? Do you need some more practice? We'd like to hear from you too. It's not just necessarily you being evaluated by another trainer. So that will be the next step for both of you. I feel pretty confident about that. So if you guys have any questions for us, let me know. But I'll be getting an email out to you tomorrow that has all the details.
Well, thank you so much for taking all this time to help us out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you both.
Absolutely.
Thank you both. It's our pleasure.
We're excited to have you guys on our team.
you guys do work some amazing hours. I know that's amazing. When I'm done with my day, I'm thinking about some of the workshops that you're just about to start, or some of the trainings you're just about to start. So definitely, thanks, guys.
That's going to be you soon too, Terry.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. Thank you both.
All
Thanks,
right,
Kelly.
take care, guys.